Hello and welcome back to EFD. Today we are looking at 10 players who started their footballing lives in one position but ended up reaching their pinnacle somewhere else on the pitch. 10. Didier Drogba. A Premier League and Chelsea legend, Didier Drogba only received his first professional football contract at 21 years old when he debuted for Ligue 2 outfit Le Mans. But the Ivorian wasn't always heading attacks and bullying opposing defenders, originally planning to become an accountant while playing football as a hobby on the side of his studies. Drogba had been playing as a right-back in the lower tiers of the French leagues, but after 2 metatarsal breaks in 2 years, it looked unlikely that he would ever make it as a top-flight player. However, by 1999, he'd given up university and was playing full-time for a team in the French second division. Despite Drogba trying to reinvent his own game and forge his way as a striker, he was displaced in the side by Daniel Cousin of Hull fame and forced out wide. During his short stint at Guingamp, he finally became a regular up front, scoring 17 in 34 appearances before transferring to Marseille. And in 2004 he moved to West London, where he would go on to write his name into Chelsea and Premier League history with over 100 goals as a striker for the Blues. 9. Jamie Carragher. Jamie Carragher may now be renowned for his stoic defending in a Liverpool shirt, but as a child he was not only an Everton fan, but also a striker. Carragher joined Liverpool in 1988 when he was just 10 years old. As a youngster, he struggled to make an impact in the youth team and failed to force his way into the side, which was often blamed on his then small stature. It wasn't until he was pushed down the field into a midfield position that he started to actually impress, making his first appearance in the Reds reserves in 1994, aged just 16. But he didn't find his way into the first team until he had fully shifted into a defensive role. He was first used as a utility player as a backup member of the Spice Boys, used mainly as a centre-back, a full-back and occasionally a defensive midfielder. And Carragher finally nailed down his position as a centre-back under Rafa Benitez during the 2004-05 campaign that proved a career-defining season for the player. He struck up a defensive partnership with Sami Hyypiä for 56 appearances, securing the position that would earn him the reputation as a strong and astute centre-back, a Champions League winner's medal, and a nomination for the Ballon d'Or. Unbelievable. 8. Bastian Schweinsteiger. Dubbed the midfield mastermind, Bastian Schweinsteiger could easily be considered one of the most complete midfielders of the modern era. An 8-time Bundesliga winner with Bayern and a World Cup winner with Germany, Schweinsteiger has impressed emphatically on the global stage. Ignoring his tainted trip to Old Trafford, he has been consistently the first name on the team sheet under managers like Van Gaal, Guardiola and Heinkes as a central midfielder. Having said he was comfortable in any position in midfield, it's unsurprising to find out that the German actually started on the left wing. Schweinsteiger's transition into the middle of the park was sparked by an injury to midfield general Michael Ballack in 2010. At the relatively ripe age of 25, Bastian Schweinsteiger took over his role. His transformation was amazingly seamless as he carried many of Ballack's qualities, including his vision, an eye for a pass and speciality in set pieces, traits that went on to make him an exceptional central midfielder and made him the brain of the World Cup winning German side. 7. Gareth Bale. Southampton have been feeding the Premier League with talented youngsters for a generation, producing the likes of Adam Lallana, Luke Shaw and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. But in 2007, the most exciting St Mary's export was a left-back named Gareth Bale. At 17 years old, Bale broke into Southampton's starting 11 and became the youngest player to ever represent Wales before he was lifted into the Premier League when Tottenham Hotspur paid around £10 million for the young fullback. Spurs coach at the time, Harry Redknapp, may claim he discovered the talent, but it was an injury to left-back Benoit Assou-Ekotto that forced Bale into the North London lineup. His most eye-capturing moment was in the Champions League when he almost brought Tottenham back from the dead against Inter Milan. 4 goals behind and with 10 men, Bale went on a series of fierce runs down the wing with 3 clinical finishes to earn a hat-trick and suggest a future in an attacking role, where he averaged a goal involvement every other game during his 256 league appearances for Spurs. His heroics may not have been enough to save Spurs at the San Siro, but it did put him on the European map and paved the way for his record-breaking move to Real Madrid and from the number 3 jersey to the attacking number 11. 6. Alan Smith. A slightly more rogue component on this list, Alan Smith's reinvention came later in his career than anyone else. Already an established striker, Smith was a member of Leeds United's famous 2001 squad who made it to the semi-finals of the Champions League. In his very first senior game for Leeds, Smith showcased his eye for goal with one of his very first touches. He went on to score 38 goals for the Ellen Road outfit and was a homegrown sweetheart until he left for Ferguson's Man United in 2004. It was during his time at Old Trafford that Smith swapped to midfield, earmarked as Roy Keane's successor. According to Fergie, Keane himself had suggested the positional change after seeing himself in smudge. Although Smith may not have made waves as the midfield anchor, he never returned to his position up front, despite Ferguson planning to use him to replace an outgoing Van Nistelrooy. And following a horrific leg break, Smith failed to find a role back in the United lineup or live up to his potential in the middle of the park, seeing out the rest of his career in the midfields of Newcastle and Milton Keynes. 5. Manuel Neuer. Most unsurprisingly of all, Manuel Neuer's capabilities with the ball at his feet come from years of playing as an outfield player. The 4-time UEFA Goalkeeper of the Year and one of the best of all time, Neuer didn't always want to play as a keeper. The German international has admitted that he actually preferred to play outfield and was forced between the sticks by his coach, probably due to his 6'4" stature. However, you could argue that Neuer basically is an outfield player, as his style of play has changed goalkeeping in the modern era, totally encapsulating the idea of the sweeper keeper. Another transition isn't completely out of the question though, with Neuer claiming he could make it as an outfield player in the lower German leagues. Bit arrogant, but we'll take it. 4. Thierry Henry. It's no secret that Arsene Wenger has suffered a few tough seasons, as we've witnessed the once invincible coach switch to slumming it on a Thursday in the Europa League. Just ask Maitland-Niles to find out how the Frenchman likes to force youngsters out of their comfort zones. But one of Wenger's most genius moves was the man management of Thierry Henry. Contrary to popular belief, the Gunners' record goalscorer did start out as a striker at Monaco's youth academy, after earning his place when a scout witnessed him score 6 in one game as a young centre-forward. But due to his sheer pace and dribbling ability, Wenger developed his play on the flanks. After Wenger's departure, Henry slotted onto the left wing as Monaco won the 1997 Ligue 1 title, and he picked up the Young Player of the Season. He even won the World Cup with France as a winger, and a stint in Italy with Juve saw him cement his role out wide. It wasn't until 1999, when the 22-year-old was reunited with Arsene Wenger, that he became an out-and-out striker. Wenger remembered his blistering goal-scoring ability and made the Frenchman head Arsenal's attack. Despite teething problems at first, with Henry admitting that he wanted to be moved back to the wing, he went on to become one of the best strikers the Premier League has ever seen, with a total of 175 goals and 74 assists for the Gunners. 3. Sergio Ramos. We're not sure which figure is higher for Sergio Ramos, the number of goals he scores as a defender, or the number of times he finds his way into the ref's notebook. But despite his disciplinary problems, the Madrid man clearly impressed someone at the Bernabeu when they spent $18.5 million and an 8-year contract on the 19-year-old fullback from Sevilla. Confident with the ball at his feet and keen to drive the attack from a deep line position, Ramos thrived as a right-back. And while his versatility has led to his occasional involvement as a defensive midfielder, it is as a centre-back that he has become one of the best and most reliable players in La Liga. It was actually Jose Mourinho who switched Ramos into the middle in a shift that enabled Real Madrid to totally adapt their game. By putting the fiery right-back at the centre of their defence, it meant that Los Blancos could play comfortably out from the back, even if their traditional playmakers were marked heavily. Over his 15-year stint in Madrid, Ramos has lifted 4 league titles and 3 Champions Leagues as a fundamental figure in Real's back line. He probably wouldn't say thank you to Mourinho for many things, but he does owe him for his central position. 2. Fernando Torres. At a surprising 6'1", Fernando Torres does have physicality to be a goalkeeper, but we were still surprised to see that the star striker started his career between the sticks. From a family of avid football fans, Torres started playing for his first team at just 5 years old, following in his brother Ismi's steps as he took up his position as a goalkeeper. But while playing in the streets, a fearless Fernando took a strike to his face, knocking out his 2 front teeth, and was consequently banned from playing in goal by his mum. Luckily for Spain and Mrs. Torres, he opted to play outfield and made his way into Atletico's youth academy at just 11 as a striker. With just under 200 league goals over his illustrious career at Atletico, Milan, Chelsea and Liverpool, it turned out that Torres was even more comfortable on goal as in it. And without his lethal goal-scoring ability, Spain may not have won the Euros in 2008 and ended their 44-year wait for international silverware. 1. Gianluigi Buffon. The archetype of a modern goalkeeper, Gigi Buffon has been capped more times for Italy than any other player in history, and represented the Bianconeri a record-breaking 500 times. Longevity basically runs through his veins. However, the 40-year-old stopper started his footballing career outfield. As a youngster, he preferred to score goals, and he has said that when he was younger, his favourite position to play was a midfield sweeper. Buffon has actually claimed that it was in fact destiny that made him switch to stand between the sticks. but it kind of sounds like it was his dad's idea. While Buffon said he loved to be right in the middle of the field in all of the action, it was his father who said he should try being a keeper. Even wise as a child, Buffon agreed to give it a go for a year to learn a different perspective of the game. He went on to become the world's most expensive goalkeeper in 2001 when he moved to Turin for €52 million. With over 1,000 career appearances, 10 Serie A titles and a plethora of personal accolades, moving to the goal line was an excellent decision for Gigi. So those were 10 players who moved position and redefined their game, but what do you think? Did we miss anyone out? What did you think of our candidates? Let us know in the comments below. Now if you've enjoyed this, why not go and check out Football Mundial and of course Stat Wars, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.